As punishment, I'm locking the house doors until you're finished, my mother-in-law said as she pushed me out into the scorching sun. The temperature was 96 degrees Fahrenheit. I started pulling weeds in the garden while cradling my near-term pregnant belly. However, within an hour, I collapsed due to heat exhaustion as I lost consciousness. All I could think about was the child inside me. The next time I woke up, it was in a hospital bed the following day. The only person there was my husband, Tim. My in-laws were nowhere to be found. Turns out, my Mill had passed away. What on earth is going on? My name is Hannah, and I'm 30 years old. I live with my husband, Tim, who is 5 years older than me, our 1-year-old son, Noah, and my in-laws, making us a family of 5. Tim is very kind and caring, always looking out for me, especially now that I'm overwhelmed with childcare. My Mill, however, doesn't like this one bit. Even though Tim and I have been married for 4 years, she still sees me as an enemy. She believes I stole her son from her. The only saving grace is that she adores our son, Noah. She spends her free time playing with him, and it's adorable to see how much Noah enjoys playing with her. But when it comes to me, my Mill still hates me, and every day is a series of constant harassments. We're both housewives, but she has no intention of doing any household chores. When we moved in together, she declared, "I won't do any housework from now on. Don't count on me for anything." And she's kept true to her word. Even when I was pregnant with Noah, she didn't lift a finger to help. I had to take care of Noah and the household chores all by myself. Now, things have calmed down a bit. Thanks to Noah, she at least makes snacks for him, but it's clear she's doing it to win his favor. Still, it has somewhat lightened my load, which is a relief. It was a moment when Noah seemed both adorable and reliable. When Noah turned 2, we found out I was pregnant with our second child. This time it's a girl, something Tim has always wanted. But one person was disappointed. My Mill. She had been hoping for another grandson, so her resentment towards me intensified. My morning sickness was severe, and it was hard just to get out of bed. While Tim was around, my Mill would pretend to be concerned. "Hannah, rest today. Leave Noah to me." Tim would say, "Mom said it's okay to rest, so take it easy. I'll try to come home early," and head off to work. The moment he was gone, her demeanor would change. "Get up and do the housework. Morning sickness is no excuse. You're the one responsible for the household chores, remember." Noah would look concerned and ask, "Mom, don't you need to sleep?" But my Mill would immediately interject, "Your mom's just not feeling well. Come on, let's go play in another room," and take Noah away. During the day, I had no allies. By evening, I was forced to prepare dinner. Make sure dinner is ready by the time Tim gets home. And just before Tim would come back, she'd say, "You can rest now, but tell Tim you rested all day." Understand, exhausted from a day of chores and dealing with morning sickness, I would just collapse into bed. When my husband comes home, my Mill acts as if she made the dinner I prepared and sits down to eat with everyone. Only Noah, who is 2, notices this, but there's no way to convey it to him, and he himself feels frustrated. Even after getting through the morning sickness phase, with my growing belly, the housework continues. Aside from playing with Noah, my Mill typically goes out somewhere. Every single day, I don't know where she goes, but she leaves with heavy makeup and flashy clothes. But honestly, it was more relaxing when she wasn't at home. When she's around, she always has some complaint or another. Lately, she's been griping about the fact that I'm pregnant with a girl. "I always wanted a boy. Why would you go and get pregnant with a girl? Girls eventually get married and leave. So what's the point of raising them? Raising a girl is like throwing money down the drain." Such harsh words. She's a woman herself. I really couldn't understand why she'd say something like that. If I were having a boy, I wonder how her attitude would have been. Maybe she would have helped with the chores during my morning sickness. Maybe she wouldn't have shouted at me. Maybe she wouldn't have complained about the housework. These thoughts consumed my mind, and as time went by, the hot, scorching summer arrived. My baby was growing healthily, and I was nearing my due date. As usual, my mill made me do all the housework and constantly berated me. The baby will be here soon, and then we won't get any sleep at night. How depressing. Why would she say such a thing about a supposedly joyous occasion like childbirth? What will she be like when the baby is actually born? I was genuinely worried. Then, on a particular day, there was a heat stroke warning, advising people to avoid unnecessary outings. Yet, my mill called me out to the garden. It was 2 in the afternoon, the hottest time of the day. That day, Noah had gone to my parents' house to play. Of course, my husband, Tim, and my father-in-law were at work. It was just me and my mill at home. When she called me out to the garden, she said, "You'll be weeding this garden now. I mean, why would you let the weeds grow this long? As punishment, I'll lock the house until you're done. Oh, and here's this. Drink it wisely." And she handed me a bottle of iced tea. I wasn't prepared for gardening and was left in the garden with just a bottle of iced tea. I didn't even have the basic hat or gloves. I had to weed with my bare hands. The temperature was probably over 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Doing such a task, especially with a baby due soon, felt like punishment or bullying. With these thoughts, I try my best to weed. The bottle of iced tea she said to drink wisely was soon gone. After about an hour, I felt heat stroke symptoms. In the intense heat, I started to lose consciousness and eventually collapsed. I thought, is this the end for me? I wanted to see my baby. That was my last thought. When I woke up, I was staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. "Where am I?" Tim, noticing I had awakened, said, "You're awake, Hannah. Do you understand? You're in the hospital. Our neighbor found you passed out from heat stroke in the garden and called for help. You've been out for a day, and we were so worried. Was I saved? But what about my baby?" I immediately asked Tim, and he reassured me, "It's okay. Both you and the baby are fine." A wave of relief washed over me, but then anger towards my mill surged up. Where's Mill? If she hadn't made me do that, none of this would have happened. I will never forgive her. Tim's expression darkened. What could have possibly happened? She's passed away, he said quietly. What are you talking about? I'm really not in the mood for jokes right now. It's not a joke. You knew that my mom had a heart condition from the beginning, right? She had an episode yesterday. We thought you passed out, so we were all focused on you. By the time we found out about my mom and got her to the hospital, it was too late. Is that true? I wouldn't lie about something like this. The reason Dad isn't here is that he's busy with Mill's funeral preparations. I can't believe it. She was always so lively. Tell me it's not true. I wish I could, but it is. Once you wake up, I need to help Dad with the arrangements. I might head over now. Oh, and don't worry about Noah. He's with your parents. With that, he really left the room. Afterwards, a nurse and a doctor came to examine me and said I'd need to stay another day before being discharged. Before leaving, I stopped the nurse. "Excuse me, did my Mill really pass away?" Looking somewhat hesitant, she replied, "Yes, that's what I've heard." By the time she arrived at the hospital, it was already. Her words matched my husband's, confirming the sad truth. I never imagined that such an energetic Mill would pass away so suddenly. From now on, there will be no more verbal abuse, no more complaints, and no more bullying from her. Even if I disliked her, losing someone so close is heart-wrenching. Though I don't have many fond memories with my Mill, I couldn't stop my tears. The next day, after getting discharged, I went to pick up Noah from her grandparents. Noah was unaware of her grandmother's passing. Still, it was essential to tell him, "Sweetie, your grandma Well, she's in a place where she can't play with you anymore. Where did she go? Well, she went up to the distant skies. She can't be with us anymore, but she's always watching over you. But Mom, that means Grandma can't bully you anymore, right? I'm happy about that. To my surprise, Noah seemed more relieved that I wouldn't be picked on anymore. Really? So that's what you're saying, huh? Kids really do notice everything, I thought to myself, hugging Noah tightly. Then, I went to meet my husband and father-in-law. The preparations for the wake and funeral were well underway. I needed to speak with my father-in-law. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a moment? He looked up. What is it? I feel like it's partly my fault that we discovered Mill too late. I'm so sorry. His face showed surprise. Why are you apologizing, Hannah? From what I heard, you got heat stroke because of Mill. She made you do all that gardening, right? That's why you collapsed. Mill's collapse was just a coincidence. You have nothing to apologize for. If anything, you could say she brought it upon herself. There's no need for you to feel guilty. His calm demeanor reassured me he meant every word. Tears welled up in my eyes again. It felt like a weight had been lifted from my heart, because I knew my Phil had forgiven me. At the wake, a few relatives and some of Mill's rare friends attended. Given her personality, I was somewhat surprised she even had friends. On the day of the funeral, aside from family, there weren't many attendees. However, towards the end, there was a commotion at the reception. Standing there was a man slightly younger than my father-in-law, who was dressed in a flashy suit, far removed from any traditional mourning attire, was making a scene, demanding to see me. When I approached, the man introduced himself, Jason. Jason, how did you know my mother? My husband asked. I was Margaret's boyfriend. We've been seeing each other for a while. I heard she passed away because of your wife, so I came to confront her. Margaret was my Mill's name. My Mill's boyfriend. He's blaming me for her death. I don't know where this guy is getting his information, but he's just out of line. Margaret had a heart attack and fell, right, and they found her too late, and she died. Huh? You know why they found her late? Because her daughter-in-law had heat stroke. What a tragic way for Margaret to die. All because of you. What's your name again? Hannah. I won't be satisfied until I've punched you once. I knew there were unreasonable people out there, but this guy takes the cake. Just when I was wondering if I was about to get punched, my Phil appeared. Could you please leave? What's up, old man? Oh, you're Margaret's husband. No wonder she was dating me. You're so unimpressive. LOL. A laugh that had no place at a funeral echoed through the room. What did my Mill see in this guy? My Phil, keeping his cool, said, people like you have no business being at a funeral, and I certainly won't let you lay a finger on Hannah. Just leave. My Phil urged him to go once more. Still, this guy, let's call him Tim, said, like I said, I'm not leaving until I've punched Hannah. Margaret won't rest in peace otherwise. What an idiot. I'm sure everyone there thought the same. My FIL's patience had reached its limit. Can't you understand when I tell you to leave? I can't believe Margaret was even involved with someone like you. We don't blame Hannah. If anything, Margaret brought this on herself. You have no place here. My usually mild-mannered Phil was terrifying when angry. The kindness he'd shown me before was nowhere to be found, whether it was due to my FIL's intensity or not. Jason said, fine, I leave for today, but I'll punch Hannah someday. Mark my words. He spat out his words like some low-level thug before making his exit. Sorry for the disturbance, everyone. Let's continue the funeral. My Phil reverted to his usual gentle tone. In the end, everyone thought, classic Margaret, causing a scene until the very end. Thanks to my Phil, The funeral concluded peacefully. After the funeral, my Phil hired a private investigator to look into Jason. Turns out he was really dating Margaret. The reason my Mill was always heading out dolled up in flashy makeup and clothes was for the sake of having an affair. Once the investigation was done, my Phil hired a lawyer. He intended to sue Jason for emotional damages. Even though Margaret had passed, the affair was still a fact. I was worried that this guy wouldn't pay up, but my Phil had the upper hand. It turns out Jason was dating multiple women, some of whom were married like Margaret. My Phil told him he'd spill the beans to all these women, which would result in multiple lawsuits. Jason was rattled by the words of his father-in-law and ultimately paid the damages. The amount was $30,000, and a restraining order was also issued against him. So we were finally free of this threat. As for us, we decided to stop living with my Phil. Given that I'm close to my due date, we temporarily moved in with my parents. We're looking for a new place to live before our baby arrives. My husband moved to the new place first for work, and I stayed at my parents' house, almost like a baby moon. Our son Noah is of course with us, and 2 weeks later, our baby girl arrived a bit earlier than expected, but healthy and strong. It was a joyous occasion for everyone. Noah is adjusting to his new role as a big brother, gently patting his sister's head and saying, "What a cute baby." He might not fully understand his responsibilities yet, but I'm looking forward to him becoming a wonderful big brother. I hope our family of 4 can live peaceful and happy days from now on. As for my relationship with my Phil, although we're not living together anymore, we're still on good terms. We plan to invite him over for dinner once a month, just to keep the family bond strong.